What up, fam? Hit that like, hit that subscribe. The new NFL season is upon us, per se. Giddy up.
Oh my God! I'm embarrassed! He's flying!
Welcome in. It's almost time.
Tommy, we can't hear you.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just me.
Yeah.
I thought I was going crazy too.
You're good now.
Okay, cool.
You're good now.
This is the HUD Free Agency Frenzy Show. We are brought to you by Baggio's Bread. They're located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. They're home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pie, sandwiches, cutlettes, meatballs. You mentioned HUD Radio, you get 10% off your in-store purchase. As always, this is not HUD Wednesday nights, but it's pretty close to it. Frank Vespi, Michael Chromiak, Ralph Del Vecchio, Ryan Brotto. I'm Tom Arnone. Everybody out there, welcome in. Welcome in. This is season. It's upon us, right? A lot of moves, a lot of shakes going on early today. As soon as 12 o'clock hit, we had one Eagle off the board. So we'll talk about everything around the NFL free agency frenzy that's going on. We'll give you live updates as they come across for you, for us, and we'll give you the latest Eagles news and rumors, and all that ties into our poll question brought to you by FanUp, and FanUp is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NFL contests, daily NBA contests as well. And if you use promo code A2D, you get $50 right at sign up, and you can download FanUp right on the Apple Store. So go do it. Go check them out. Go download them. So interactive. I think you'll have a ton of fun. Go check out FanUp and make sure you use promo code A2D, and you get $50 right at sign up. Our poll question for today's show is: the Eagles will re-sign CJ Gardner-Johnson. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. That's where we're live. Everywhere you get your podcasts, we're there as well. Hit the like, subscribe, follow, join the conversation. Listen, I think they do. I think they want to. I think CJ is right in that age of guys that they try to bring back. They try to give long-term deals to. You know, we saw Jesse Bates, obviously, a couple minutes ago. 4 years, about $16 million a year. It's pretty much the market. Maybe talk about $1 million more maybe for a guy like CJ, but they're right around that same conversation. I mean, I don't think CJ deserves more than a guy like Jesse Bates gets, right? I think they're right on the same tier of players. So that's the going market. That's the going rate, about $16 million a year. I think that's something the Eagles can pull off. I think that's something the Eagles are willing to pull off. I felt like about a week ago that this was something that I sort of felt it was going to happen. You know, a reason I didn't think they were going to give Hargrave the money he just got is because you're going to pay a guy like that when he's 34 years old. It's not sort of the Eagles' MO. They don't really like doing that as much as they value the defensive front, the offensive lines. That's not really something they like doing. They don't really like paying guys, you know, $20 million a year when they're 34 years old. So CJ is a guy that fits right into that demographic of what the Eagles love. 25 years old, top player at his position, and a position that we struggle drafting, right? I think we all can tell you what we're not good at here, and what we're not good at is really been addressing safety draft-wise, right? It's something we haven't hit a home run with. Even the cornerback position, right? Something we haven't hit home runs with, which is why we've had to go out and make these moves. The other reason I think CJ's back is this was a trade, right? This wasn't a guy that we brought in for a one-year deal. This was a guy that we gave up, air quote, assets for. And when you do that, you sort of want to ink that guy up. I know we can overreact and to what a guy says, you know, buy Philly. It's been fun, Philly. But to me, that's all just posturing, right? That's all just, and I think some of these guys love to be in people's mentions. I really do believe that the ego gets involved here where guys want to be talked about. It's their chance to be talked about. They say it's their chance to sign their big deal, but it's really their chance to be talked about all over social media. It's their chance to be trending locally in this area. And, you know, there's no such thing as bad business. So I don't really buy into much of what he's been doing on Twitter besides just posturing, right? So I think he's back. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. I really will. I'd be shocked if CJ Gardner-Johnson isn't an Eagle moving forward. You know, we've already lost a couple guys. We obviously got Jason Kelsey back. We'll talk about that as the show goes on. So I don't think this is a guy you can lose. But thank goodness Howie knew about Jason coming back a couple of days ago. And that allowed him to sort of prepare for this, right? And I appreciate a guy like Jason Kelsey not holding us hostage, right? Because he could have. Guys can hold organizations hostage. So I appreciate that. I respect the heck out of it that he was able to do this immediately and not push this off for another month or so. And that just means we lose a guy like Isaac and Jurgen swings over to the guard. So, all that is status quo. So now it becomes, hey, you got a 25-year-old guy who's an elite player in this league out of position. They're guys I got a feeling that Howie Roseman inks up. So I agree. Family, what do you say out there? Boys, let us know.
I'll go next real quick. I agree 100%. I think they do sign CJ. I think their strategy coming to free agency was to move Slay and then maybe draft a guy at 10 at the cornerback position and get younger there, and then use that money that you freed up from the Slay trade to go ahead and sign CJ. But now the interesting thing is that Cincinnati just lost two of their safeties today, and Jesse Bates and Von Bell. So they don't have any safeties. So they could be like, all right, let's just, pay CJ what he wants. And now CJ's a Cincinnati Bengals. So now it's up to the Eagles to either, throw that brink truck at CJ and keep him here, or he goes somewhere else. So that's a team to keep an eye out for CJ. But I think when it's all said and done, I think CJ is a Philadelphia Eagle after all of this.
I'm probably going to change my mind on this poll question approximately like 50, 60 times in the next 25 minutes. I just don't think you can lose him, right? Like, I know that's not the poll. I know it's like, will they bring him back? Not should they, or do they need to? I mean, you're looking at it right now where the only guy where you really know for 100% certainty that he's going to be a part of the Eagles next year, that's a part of your secondary, is Avonte Maddox, right? Like, obviously Gardner-Johnson, no idea what's going on with him. Marcus Epps, obviously he's not a big contributor, but he's, a part of your safeties. You don't know, he's a free agent currently. And then you have the whole thing with the one who's actually a free agent in Bradberry, and Slay, who wants to get paid. They say, oh, you can go out and see what, you can get in other, situations on other teams. So that guy could also be there. Given the age, given what you said, Tom, on how you traded for him, and I understand, like yesterday, Bradberry said that the Eagles still want to, keep in communication with them and have the opportunity to match whatever they get on the open market. But I think if push comes to shove, not only just production, but age and the things you put into it, they would much rather overpay, quote unquote, by a couple $1 million for Gardner-Johnson because of what he did and what he can be, instead of Bradberry, who's a few years older, right? And also, I just don't picture throughout everything that you're projected to lose. Either you've already lost on defense with Edwards and Hargrave, and what you could lose going forward. I don't think they're going to allow themselves to lose, let's say 85% of that starting secondary. That was one of the better secondary units, at least in recent memory for the Eagles, or not, if not like a long-term memory. I completely agree. Like, obviously when CJ was doing the whole, thank you, Philly, I was like, oh, he's gone. But then once the emotions settle, and it's like, okay, he's playing the game and he's doing a very good job at it, right? And he's clearly having fun with it. I think he's tweeted at a player on every team pretty much at this point. He's still tweeting. So we clearly know what he wants. I think it comes push to shove, and obviously the Jesse Bates thing is kind of the the blueprint of it. I think if you're able to get him anything under $18 million, and even then I feel like that's hefty, they're going to do it. I think the thing that they're waiting for the most, and why all these people on Eagles Twitter that are screaming, I don't understand it, but they're like, oh, why are we not seeing the Eagles do anything? Well, they're waiting. They're waiting. Apparently Lane Johnson's restructure is happening, right? It's just a matter of when they're just going to institute it. I think that's all coming down to Darius Slay and what they're going to do. If they can get him to restructure at a lower mark, or maybe give him, more guarantees later on, then they'll do that. That way they know exactly what they're working with. But right now, you have just over $7 million in cap space. So I think it's kind of a wait and see type thing. But I just kind of think they're in a situation where it might hurt them later on, but I think Gardner-Johnson will be here when it's all said and done.
Patrick Peterson to the Steelers.
Good. Thank you, Jesus, because I was afraid that we might do that. So I'm glad.
Yeah. Well, we should sign him. We should bring him back. I disagree with the poll question. I just think there's too many things, too many moving parts that need to happen that haven't happened yet. The Eagles have the biggest dead cap hit in the league right now. There's a lot of financial restructuring that still needs to go on. And I think somebody's going to swoop in and sign them. And that's just the way I think it's going to go. I think somebody's going to price them out, much like they did with a guy like a Javon Hargrave. I think if you're bringing anybody back in that secondary, your best bet is going to be Slay. And I know not everybody wants to hear that, but I think there's still a possibility they can get a restructure out of him and figure that contract
What makes
out.
you think that?
I think that on both ends, I think people.
No, stop. You can't say both ends because the other guy doesn't want it. The other guy made it clear he doesn't want to restructure. Hence why they said to him, you're allowed to go out and find another deal.
So is this what it's going to be? Come on here and you're going to immediately talk over me and let me finish my.
First off, it's my fucking company. I'll do whatever the hell I want to. I asked you a question. So don't get snippy. I asked you a simple question.
And I started.
And did I talk over you or I asked you a question?
Yeah.
Is it not a sports format to talk sports with each other?
Nobody said that Darius Slay doesn't want to have an opportunity to renegotiate a deal with them. But at the end of the day, they haven't reached an agreement as of this point. So they said if there's an opportunity for you, go out and get it. But they're still in contact on both sides. They're still trying to negotiate a deal.
But they're not on restructuring, correct? Though I'm asking a serious question. I'm not talking over you. I'm asking you to your point that you just put out to the public is not official. That's wrong, Chrome. The facts of the matter is they said, "Are you going to They tried to get him to restructure. He doesn't want to. So they said to him, "Okay, we'll allow you to go find a trade partner." Then that was the conversation. What did I miss?
Well, on the other side, his people put out there. He put out there that there's still an open opportunity to negotiate a deal with them. So I don't know what the deal is, but
like a long-term deal or a restructure, right?
I don't think Bradberry comes back. I think CJ is going to get swiped up before we do, because even whether or not we're restructuring him or not, right? I think he's gone. I think that he proved too much value there, and at this point, we haven't gotten enough done in terms of clearing space, and the dead cap space is what's going to kill us this year. Like, I think that that's going to be the major issue. That's the roadblock for a guy like him or a guy like Hargrave bringing him back. Because to me, one of those two were the dead giveaway. We talked about it all year. You got to bring at least one of those guys back. But I just now seeing Jesse Bates off the list and seeing what he got, CJ's going to get more than that. So that's my point. If there's an opportunity to bring I don't think any of them coming back. To the point that I was going to make, but if there's a possibility of somebody, I feel like Darius is the one where there's some controllability over it. That's the point I was trying to get to. But I don't think any of them come back. Maybe Bradbury, if he sits out there again like last year, but I don't know. Like you guys said, I'm glad it's not happening, but I really thought that they were going to end up piecing together the secondary with low-cost, high-reward guys like a Patrick Peterson type of guy. So I don't know what's going to happen, and I hate to say, because this is the guy that should have gotten done last year during the year.
So nobody's coming back.
CJ, right?
Saying. So nobody's coming back, you're saying?
And that's of those three guys, I don't think any of them are coming back.
So you think they should have got a deal done with CJ last year?
I think CJ should have been done during the year. I think they're going to end up drafting really heavy in the secondary and maybe offensive line now in the draft this year.
I understand why they didn't. I understand Howie's thought process in it. It actually makes a lot of sense. When he came out and talked about it, that hey, there was guys I wanted to get done during the year, but when things are going this well and we're winning games like we are, I didn't want to pay one guy and I got a mutiny, right? And then I got guys that the great locker room appearance that was shown last year that we saw, maybe would have gone south a little bit, right? So I think it's biting them in the butt a little bit now, Chrome, to that point. Obviously I think there's a couple guys he probably wish he could have got done by week 6.
Yeah. I think I do think that, to what John's saying down here, I think CJ might wait a little bit of time to give them a chance, because I really do think he loves playing here. I just think he's going to get priced out. I think he proved his value big time in a new position, really effectively in a new position last year. He reinvented himself. And there's a lot of teams that have that need, and a lot of teams at the top of the pecking order in the league that need to fill safety positions.
I think and that goes right to what you just said too, Chrome. I think what Ralphie said earlier too is like a perfect example with the Bengals. I'm not saying like he's definitely going to land on the Bengals, but I would imagine what CJ's trying to do is see how desperate a team gets. It's like, okay, here's the blueprint for Jesse Bates, but also, hey, I led the league in interceptions while missing 5 games, and I'm 2 years younger? Yeah, like that's That's, I think, more the game right now. It's like, okay, hey, Bengals, you don't have any safeties right now. Come get me.
Yeah.
Hey, Browns, you've been looking at me and you almost traded for me before the Eagles got me last August. Okay, come get me now. And I'm sure there's probably, 10 to 12 other teams that fit kind of that narrative and that sample size also. So,
and that's a tough situation to turn down. If there is an opportunity to say to go to Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's
100%.
a tough situation to turn down. And not to say that he wouldn't give us a chance. I don't know. I just think the dead cap hit is going to be really brutal for us this year.
Yes, it is. It definitely is. Frank, what do you say to the poll?
I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head. I mean, CJ, he's a top priority for this offseason. The way that he played last year, and, Jesse Bates only 27, CJ only 25. I think there is a way that Howie is going to get it done this offseason. But the good thing is, what I see out of these cryptic tweets that CJ's been doing, it's all smoke for me. I think there is a way that Howie is going to get the job done. I mean, you really can't afford to lose more guys. I mean, we lost TJ, we lost Javon earlier today, and part of me says, okay, maybe we're just going to build through the draft and see what Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean are going to be doing this season. But I mean, Howie's got to strike gold sometime at some point off season. He did a great job last season, but yeah, I think he gets the job done and re-signs CJ.
Andrew thinks that they have to overpay for him. I don't think they have to overpay for him. Not that there's not a big market, but a lot of guys will take that $1 million a year less just to stay where their feet are sometimes too, and where they're comfortable. So not saying that, $3 million he would say, no, I'm just going to stay where I'm at. But we're talking about the Bengals. I mean, there's a reason the Bengals had to let Bates walk, right? I mean, there's a reason there. They don't have the money either. They got to sign a quarterback. I don't know if they signed Barrow yet. I don't think they did, right? So they got to get a deal done. They're in the same boat we're in. So, I think they're out of the equation. There's a reason they had to let them walk. They're almost in the same type of problem we're in a little bit, not as far off as we are, right? Because we got half a roster walking today. Yeah. But they're not in a great spot either, cap wise. Again, not as bad as us, but I do really think CJ's back. I felt like I was on an island until we did this show, which is great.
I hope.
Because I feel like more and more guys sort of feel like it's happening. Because that like we talked about, that's just the Howie MO. Like he likes guys that are 25, right? If you go draft the guy who's 22, I'd rather pay the guy who's 25. I know what he is already, and with the amount of holes that we have to fill on draft night, et cetera, it would be nice to have that done and have at least one guy in your back end or two guys in your back end to say, hey, you know what? We got CJ back there, we got Avante back there. Now we'll go draft the guy in the draft to play one of our corners, right? We'll go sign a low risk, high reward, hopefully type player on a 1-year deal for one of our corner positions, right? And then we'll go to the other back end and we'll probably have to sign a safety on a 1-year deal too. And maybe to somebody looking to win, right? We've seen it more and more over the last few years that more and more guys are sitting out there that are good football players, right? And we're like, man, why is that guy sitting out there? Because teams aren't willing to give him the long-term deals, et cetera. They don't have the money to do it. And you get guys like, I'm not saying Nelson was a steal. I'm just saying that is it. Okay, 1-year deal, right? 2 years ago, obviously Bradberry was the same type of deal Nelson was, just better, obviously, and showed last year. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if Slay's still here next year, and I'd be shocked if Bradberry's still here. I feel like they know they have to get younger there. I feel like they witnessed that, and I'm not telling people that it wasn't one of the best tandems in football for 2022. What I'm saying is when you're going into 2023, you have one guy that's turning 30 and the other guy is 32, going to be turning 33 in Darius Slay, right, when the season's over. That's a risky age for corners that really aren't like freak athletes, right? Like Slay and Bradbury don't jump off the charts like speed-wise, all those types of things, right, at this point of their careers. Not a shot at either one. Both are extremely good corners. I'm not taking shots. I know Eagles fans, anytime you talk about a player and it's time to go, it's time to move on, we get emotional. These two guys, it's time to probably move on.
Well, what did we talk about over the weekend, Tom? We were, on the side. It was right after the Darius Slay trade request. That wasn't a trade request, whatever they want to call it now. It was how we kind of looked back at 2018, right after you won that Super Bowl. And listen, we're not taking shots at Howie. This is what happens when you win your first Super Bowl. He kind of hung on to guys a little too long, right? They got old really, really quick. And again, for the fans at home that are passionate about Slay and Bradberry,
he gave out too many thank you contracts.
Yes, and that's not to say that it would be equivalent to what they would do with Darius Slay. But my point is, they got old really quick, and they didn't hit on any draft picks. They got stuck, which is why they had to blow it up. And thankfully, they started hitting on guys, and they got to where they were very quickly, way faster than I think even they may have expected. I don't think Howie's going to do it again, especially after not winning a Super Bowl, right? Like, sure, it's like fun getting there, but you don't have that reward of a parade and a trophy and everything that goes with it to suck or maybe not be on the best side of things for the next couple of years after you re-sign. We're going to pay Slay until he's 35. Oh, we're going to overpay Bradbury by $4 million years per. Oh, we're going to overpay by CJ by $3 million per and have him near $20 million per. Oh, and by the way, we still have to pay a quarterback. Especially when you look the next couple of years, I know it doesn't affect it right now, but pretty soon you're looking up over the head. It's like, okay, well, is Lane Johnson going to be here for very much longer? He said 2 years, so you got to look at that replacement. Devontae, if he keeps playing like this, he's going to command money. So it looks really good on one side of the ball, but on the other side, it's like, damn, if you're not careful, you go from having a loaded secondary with depth and talent to Marcus Epps, Reed Blankenship, and Zach McPherson. And what worries me is like, hey, Tom and I especially have been preaching draft a cornerback in the first round like every year, right? Like Surtain was our guy. We've had guys like every year in the first couple of years. So I completely agree. Like common sense and hope would suggest, the Eagles will just take Witherspoon or Gonzalez or somebody like that in the first round. But then I remember the Eagles haven't drafted a cornerback in the first round in 21 years. And we always go back to thinking they're going to change their ways until they just don't. They go along the defensive or offensive lines. And again, you're continuously getting results. You go to a Super Bowl. I don't see any reason why they would stray from it. Not to get into draft talk, but I feel like that's why they're kind of forced to having to overpay for one of these guys. And I think it would be CJ over Bradbury because of what we said before.
Yeah. CJ, obviously, like talking about the cornerback position, just talking about Slay and Bradbury for a second. The facts of the matter are the only way you change your stripes is being forced to, right? And the only way you start drafting corners, right, is by not having any, right? So at some point you have to get younger there. We all agree there. We all understand that. Probably the only thing we'll all be kumbaya on, throughout the next 5 months, right? That we'll all be like, we're in full agreement. We got to get younger there. We all believe that. And that's a good thing because when we're usually all thinking the same on something like this, we're probably right. That none of us are sitting here going to clamor and say, you have to bring one of those two guys back. You can't go in the next year without Slay and Bradbury. Listen, I think you have to. I think you have to move on because of the money, because you can't keep giving out money. We're going to play Slay till he's 35. Are we out of our minds right now? Like, no. So move on from it. Whatever you get back from them, it is what it is. And if you can clear that money off your cap, that allows you to start over. It allows you to bring in guys, maybe offensive defense lines that you want to on a 1-year deal, right? On a prove-it deal, which then allows you to go, obviously, into the draft and draft some needs.
Like I'm looking here, for example, and this is just on Spotrac, obviously, but they're saying his market value for James Bradberry is 3 years, 45.5. So he'd be making $15.1 million per. Ooh. I'm not trying to I like Bradbury, right? But yeah, I'm not trying to do that. I can't.
I don't even know if I like Bradbury that much.
Yeah.
What do they have him projected at?
$15 million per over 3 years, so about $45 million.
I'll just be honest with you. He's not worth it. He proved it in New York. All right. When he got his bag and went to New York, he underachieved. This is why nobody was giving him a deal last year. This is why he had to settle for a 1-year deal. And now I got a feeling that nobody's going to give him that bag again. Because, listen, everybody sees it. You're not covering number one corner. You're not covering number one wide receivers here. When you went to New York and you had to cover the number ones, you got toasted up and down the field. That's just the facts of the matter. It's not a shot at the guy, but here you come here, you're mostly covering number two wide receivers. Well, guess what? Who's going to give $15 million a year for a guy who's going to cover a number two? Who really doesn't match up against number ones? And it's like, look at all the number one, the true number one wide receivers. And it's like, and tell me what's when James Bradberry matches up great against.
Well, and this was the problem. We talked about this a few Wednesdays ago. This was the problem with him in New York and also in past years too. It's that of course he looked great in this year. And again, not taking anything away from him, but he didn't have to match up against any number ones. His thing in New York, especially in recent years, was that he was too slow on the double moves and he would get burnt against the number ones. So I'm not paying him $15 million per or anything close to that, because if you're paying him $15 million per, Darius Slay's gone. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't, that means he's gone. Therefore, you're promoting him back to a one. And now a couple years later, I'm going to expect that he's going to get better at double moves against Justin Jefferson and the likes of that. Like, and again, no shot at him. But like, if I told you guys, hey, coming across the bottom line, it says James Bradberry re-signs with the Eagles for 2 years, 25. Would you be okay with that?
No.
Okay. Chrome, Ralph, Frank.
How much? 2 years, 25?
Yeah.
2 years, 25. That's
it depends on how desperate we are at that point. I would say today, no. If we're still looking in a couple weeks, I might say, okay, maybe.
Yeah, I agree with Chrome on that one. It depends on how everything progresses in free agency.
Like if it comes down to those two, I wouldn't think it's egregious to bring him back because he is 3 years younger. So there is still the potential for him to produce for a longer period of time. I agree. Paying Slay, so he's 35 years old at that position. We're sitting here talking about Patrick Peterson right now, who, by the way, got a 2-year deal. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad.
It's just that, and the money that he would be looking at it's crazy. But that being said, that's not the option where I want those funds to be allocated.
Ralphie, I'll start.
Oh, I said no. I said no.
So what's the most you're willing to pay Bradberry per year? Everybody.
What do you make this
10.
year?
2 for 10.
Oh, he signed like the league minimum this year.
2 for 10.
2 for 10. So $5 million. You're only paying $5 million a year.
Yeah, I'm right with you, dude. I mean,
okay.
I'm not even giving them 2 either. 1 for 5, 1 for 6, 1 for 6.5. Right? You want to sign a 1-year deal? Give you 1 for 7. You're not a ball hawk. You're not some of those things. You're a good corner. You're a good one.
I don't know, maybe because I just have that agenda because we're the whole fucking the Giants shit like 3 days before the Super Bowl.
1 year 7. 1 year 7 he was on this past year.
Good. I'll give him a bonus. 1 year 7.5.
I'd give him 8.5. I mean, it's a weird situation right now, not having any certainty at all in the secondary aside from Avonte Maddox. That's aside from all the other issues we have right now, all the other holes that are opening up.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about the Eagles. It's hard to navigate through it, Chrome, to what you're saying.
We don't even know what their cap
how much money do we even have right now?
7.7. 7.7. So anyone
going
going
to get anybody, dude. That's not enough to get nobody.
The amount of people bitching on Twitter being like, "Oh, how are they not doing anything?" We don't have money. We have no money. we don't know what we're doing with the money.
Like I said in the beginning, I think their strategy was coming into this was to get rid of Slay, open up money, and then give CJ his deal, and then go from there. Well, I think that's what their whole plan was.
I think it's to get rid of a restructure Slay. That's going to open up a lot of money.
Yeah, and then you sign CJ and you go from there.
Yeah, well, if they can complete the Lane restructure, that can open up about $10 million right there.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know why they're waiting on. I don't know why they're waiting on that.
I don't know. I looked at a bunch of scenarios of how they can clear up space. Like if you cut Quez, you save like $2.5 million. Which honestly, at this point, I'll take the $2.5 million over Quez.
Ralph, you play wide receiver 3.
One or two.
Yeah, I'll go get Marvin Jones for a year.
And I like Quez, but not for that. I'll take the $2.5 million. There's a lot of things they just haven't. I mean, other than obviously Brandon Graham taking it cheaper, sign it for cheaper, and I imagine Kelsey's going to restructure as well.
I just saw something too on Twitter. No wide receivers or running backs have been signed yet, which is interesting.
Well,
usually the first team.
the idea of it seems like a lot, but like Bradberry for his age and his production, 7 or 8 or 9 million isn't. That's kind of what the market is. Patrick Peterson is a guy you look at 5, 6, 6.5, 7 million just because of his age. Which is
Well, did anybody get money on Peterson yet?
I don't think they announced them. They showed the money yet. I just saw a 2-year deal.
By the way, Jameel Dean going back to the Tampa
Yeah,
Bay
I
for
saw
13
that.
mil per.
Mm-hmm.
There goes my plan B. There goes my
That's-
plan B.
But that's what's so hard about it, Tom. There's so many things that we normally have done by now, all the restructures and everything, so you have a clear picture, and we do not have that whatsoever. And that's what's confusing about it, because when is that going to get done? Because we've heard the lane extension's inevitable, and obviously whatever's going to happen with Slay. But why aren't we cutting Quez Watkins? Why aren't we doing some of these moves that can open up this space and get a better picture of what you have?
I don't think they know. I think they're in wait mode. I mean, as much as they told you that, it's not. It's like, oh, we've been doing this. We've been thinking about this. We didn't just get here, even though it's a long season. Let's be real. When you play in the Super Bowl, everything's backed up a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a reason. The Chiefs. Chiefs are a little late on the party. They obviously they got the guy from the Jaguars, Jawan Taylor, but they lost two tackles within minutes today, right? 2 good tackles for him too. So I think when you play in the Super Bowl and you're that late into it, I think in 2018 it was a little different. We had a chance to run and sign some guys and bring some guys back. We weren't in the cap situation we are now, but I think going late into the year like we did, not working any deals during the regular season. This is the game you play. It's the Russian roulette you play right now, where we're sort of just circling the tarmac, right? We're just waiting to see if there's anywhere for us to land, if there's anywhere for us to clear out some space to land, because right now there's nowhere to land. There's nowhere to land, and honestly, we're running out of gas. We're running out of gas. We don't have a lot of picks. There's not a lot of ways that you're going to replace, 15 guys. Like, I just don't know how they pull it off without a lot of restructuring and a lot of things like that. And then we're not even talking about the quarterback. So, that's why I don't think, if you guys want to be honest, I'm not trying to get into this. I don't think they get it done right now. I think it's something that goes into next year, if we like it or not. I just don't think they're in the position to even pull it off yet, And do they lose money by doing that? Maybe. Do they gain money by doing it? Maybe. That all depends on what Jalen Hurts you get next year, right? We don't know. But I would much rather, and I'm not looking to argue about this. This is my opinion. I would much rather wait, go prove it again. I believe in you. It's not me not believing in you. It's me saying I'm about to dish out $55 million goddamn dollars a year. Well, good. If you're really that dude, I got no problem paying you 70. You understand? So just go do it again, because I'm in such cap hell right now that I need you just to go do it again, because I got to figure some things out, right? Because now that contract, I can actually, if I signed it next year, that money doesn't have to hit that first year in. That money can be backloaded too a little bit too in that deal. So there's ways, even though you got to pay him a lot of money, to push that money back a little bit, right, guys? But I think I speak for all of us. And let's be fair here. The guy was tremendous. I think he's a star in this league, right? But let me see you do it without that's because that's all everybody wanted to say, right? So everybody wants to say is, hey, can he do it with less? Here you go, because this is a year with less. This is not offensively, but your defense isn't going to be number 1, number 2 in statistical categories. That's factual. It just won't.
Mm-hmm. No, it's impossible for it to.
It's going to be a middle of pack year for the defense.
It's funny, Tom,
100%.
especially when you talk about the defense too. It's funny because every time I look at everything moving and shaking and how kind of we're stuck right now, or at least it seems like it, I keep going back to the scene in Moneyball with Billy Bean, where it's like, if you try to replace Giambi in here, we're going to lose to the Yankees out there. I butchered the quote, but it's something along the lines of like, you can't replicate the things that you're going to lose. You just can't do it because of money, and also it was one of the best Eagles defenses of all time. It just so happens that, of course, the year right after that historical season, you're not in any shape or form to run it back. It's like, oh no,
shot.
Everybody just happens to be a free agent, and like half of them are either 30 or above.
Well, so I was having this conversation actually earlier, and if you remember the quote, and I'm just paraphrasing what it is, but essentially where Jerry said, that we mortgage the future, right?
Went all in on 1 year, yeah.
Which it's egregious, but it's not as egregious as you think. But where I find where he was kind of a little bit on point was It's not that we're mortgaging the future. We have young guys. We have tons of draft picks and draft capital. We have guys who are going to be under team control. We're going to have to pay the quarterback.
Yep.
But I do feel like this team went all in on 2023, sacrificing 2024 to be, and knowing that they'll still be in a better position going into 2025. And that's kind of what I feel like we're seeing now. We're kind of paying the piper for everything we did last year. And this year might be a rough year. Not offensively, I think we'll be fine. But defensively, I think it's going to be a rough year. I don't think they put themselves in a great cap situation this year because they went all in on last year. So I don't think he was absurd in that. Did they sacrifice some time? I think they sacrificed the defense for 2024 to try to get it done last year. And guess what? I do that all day, every day. With that run they had, it was worth it.
Yeah, and I don't even think they're like, yeah, to your point, I like they're still, it's not like it's like a bunch of tomato cans out there. Like, okay, we're looking at the back end and we're worried. Okay, I get it. But it's not like the front seven there still isn't a lot of talent there. I mean, you draft a guy in Jordan Davis who's supposed to be a dude. You drafted a guy in Milton Williams who has shown flashes, right? Sometimes it comes with opportunity. Sometimes you need opportunity to show you can do more, right? You need to be thrusted into a starting role to show you can do more. Hassan Reddick's still here. Josh Sweat's still here. Brandon Graham's still here. So it's not like Nakobe Dean's going to get an opportunity to start, which is what we all wanted anyway. So there's still pieces here that build upon, right? It's not like you got rid of your whole defense. It's just alarming because you're talking about an entire secondary that could be gone outside of Avante. I get it. Listen, Omar Epps is replaceable. I don't get what anybody said. I can find guys like him in the streets.
Oh,
all right,
100%.
So he's replaceable. The other three guys become sort of your problems. Now, I will say this. Slay becomes replaceable depending on what corner you can draft in the draft, right?
Yeah.
Bradberry is replaceable to me by just being a good GM and finding a guy on a 1-year deal. Replaceable, not the level of player, but replaceable, right? The only one that you really can't replace right this minute, and you can't replace on a 1-year deal, you probably can't replace draft night unless it's Branch from Alabama, right? And I don't know where he's going to fall because I'm not there yet, right? Is CJ. And it circles back to our poll is where I was going with this. That's the one guy you can't replace. It's harder to replace because at least it looks like there's a couple corners in this draft that are top 15 worthy, right? That you're not reaching for, okay? It looks like the only guy outside of – I see Branch, and I don't see a lot of big-name safeties right now, which could always change, but just in like mocks and stuff like that, I don't see a ton of safeties like I usually would, right? Where you see like 3 or 4 go in the first round. I think there's one I saw 2, right? But not a ton of them, right, boys? So that's where I'm like, you know what? That's why you're all in on this guy because you have pieces on defense. But Crum, what we were talking about, losing like defensive pieces, that's why I said, hey, you don't got to give him the money yet. Keep building around him offensively, right? So we talk about that third wide receiver position, that slot guy. Well, guess what, man? Go get him somebody else that actually can run a route the right way, that actually come back to a football the right way, that actually high point a football the right way. Go get him somebody like that at the third because what we're going to have to do, and listen, this is the nature of the NFL, right? We walked in with the number 1 defense in football last year to a Super Bowl, and it semi got exposed, right, to a great quarterback. Run game, whatever, guys running wide open, okay? But what we all understand is this isn't a defensive league anymore. I love defense. I'll pound the table for defensive players all day. This is a league based on offense. This is a league based on, and the rules go with it. It's a league based on scoring a lot of points, right? It is. Yeah. It's just the nature of the league. So what do you need? You need great fronts. So
you can win with a mid-level defense in this league.
And I think we still have a great front. Like, I know people are going to be like, what did you say, Tom? I still think we have a great front. Right now, without even doing anything else, just on paper right now, that's still a really damn good front. Maybe great's going a little overboard, but it's still a damn good one. All right? So I'll retract a little bit of the greatness and say it's still a damn good one. You still got 3 double-digit sack guys on your defensive front. You still do. So I'm more in it to, like, you know what, not draft-wise, right? Because we gotta focus on some defense there, but offense wins in this league nowadays. It's not like the 85 Bears or, the early Ravens in the 2000s, right? It's the league shifted and it's a more offensive league. And we all love that, as fans of the league, we all love points and we all love home runs, right? So here we are. And I want you guys' thoughts on that. I know Chrome gave his, like, a mid-level defense you can still win, AKA Kansas City, who started 2 rookie corners last year.
Yeah, and I think with this defensive line too, you still have a lot of guys that are rotational pieces that would start on some NFL teams as well that you're bringing back as well. So that's another big plus, right? And then obviously Derek Barnett is back this year, correct?
No,
I believe
free agent.
Oh, he's a free agent.
He might be
I thought
back.
they saw the option. Wasn't there an
Was
option?
it a team or was it a player? Not that it really matters. He didn't play all last year.
Yeah.
I don't think they take any option. They signed him for less than whatever the option is. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
He hasn't played in pretty much 2 years, so
No.
Fresh legs.
I'd bring him back if it's minimum. Prove it.
I'm not against. Yeah, Crumb, I'm right with you. I'm not against bringing him back.
Depth
But
move. Just a depth guy.
The funny thing too is a guy who was, I would say the biggest name on the defense for years, especially in the first Super Bowl run, of this regime, quote unquote. Fletcher Cox is still just sitting there, right? So it's like, you've heard everything from like, oh, the Browns are willing to go after him. The Texans really want him. And now you're hearing, oh, maybe he could fill in kind of that Ndamukong Suh role where he comes back on a contender or maybe even back to the Eagles on kind of like a 1 year, hey, I just want to try and win another championship type deal.
Yeah, weird with him. This just shows you how great Brandon Graham is.
Yeah. I want to read you this real quick too. Zach Berman for The Athletic. He mentioned this earlier. He said, if I'm Howie Roseman, I'm calling to at least check in on Jeremy Chinn's availability entering the final year of his contract with the Carolina Panthers. And I know,
I know a lot of people were big on him in the draft.
And I know the Eagles.
We were big on him on the draft too, but we kind of drafted. I forgot his name in that pick. Some guy named Jalen Hurts.
Well, the Eagles almost drafted him too. The Eagles were looking at him. It was him, it was Jalen, and it was one of the linemen. They were like the final three options. So maybe if they let CJ go or CJ ends up getting paid, that could be an option. Kind of filling the same role as CJ did. A young guy, kind of going on a prove-it deal. Possibly trade for him. Again, we don't really have that many picks this year, so it would have to be
we only have
a pick going forward. But
yeah.
That's something to keep an eye on also. Because to your point, Tom, nobody really screams out, especially safety-wise, which again kind of goes into what the Eagles organization likes to do in the early parts of the rounds. We know they don't like going corner early. We know they don't like going safety early. So it's like, oh, okay, not only are there that many guys that kind of fit the role with 10 or anywhere near that besides Branch, which we don't know where he's going to go. If CJ walks, you might have to go into the trade thing, and then you might have to go into replenishing some assets again because you kind of did the trade thing last year.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
Well, yeah, you went from mid to mid. You went from mid to injured mid. I don't know what they're thinking. I understand Jimmy, he worked.
It's a relationship. Yeah.
I get it, but it's like, good Lord. Devontae might request a trade to the Jets. Of course,
I do. I look. See, you got to stay off of Twitter because I worry more and more that CJ's going to sign with the Bengals now.
I don't know if they have the money for it.
I can take a look.
But why would they not keep their own guy in house that they've won a lot of football games with if they had the money? I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't know what their money. I don't know what their cap is. Like, why would they let Bates go?
I love DJ. They have $33 million in cap space.
Okay,
That's plenty of cap space.
Well, that's without a Barrow deal.
Right.
But I don't think the Burrow deal would. It's kind of like the Jalen thing. It wouldn't kick in until the following year, so it won't.
I know. I'm right with you. But the problem is, it might kick in the next year. But if you're giving a guy 4 years, $17 million a year at safety, then we go back to the same conversation with the Bengals. Is you're going to protect them? You're going to be able to get anything else for him? So they're sort of in that like circling the tarmac too. And I think when you look at teams that are waiting on quarterback deals and stuff like that, they gotta sort of be smart with their money too, right? And I think the Bengals are exactly in that situation because what they've learned is, okay, like we can go get Bates $16 million a year, but then that's going to affect us building up front, doing the things we want to do to be able to protect our franchise guy, especially when we do give him, $55-60 million a year.
Was Bates playing on the franchise tag, Ralphie? Because I know you were big into your trade.
I think
for
he
Bates.
was.
So I think because I know he requested a trade. I think 2 over the last 3 seasons, and he didn't get it. So maybe that, like, I hear you. Like, why would they let Bates go? So Willie,
he was under the franchise tag.
So maybe that was more of like, hey, I'm just not coming back. Because he was
Well,
talking about
maybe.
joining the Browns like in the like during the playoffs. He was like,
Maybe.
"Hey, I would love to play with Deshaun." And
But remember, the guy we have hasn't been the most easygoing guy when he's coming up on the end of his deals too. And another reason on why the Saints said, "Okay, right, we'll honor you, we'll move on from you," right? Because and the other thing, if you're the Bengals or if you're like anti CJ for a second, right, or wondering does CJ get as much as Bates? I'm not telling you, Don, that CJ's not better than Bates. What I'm telling you is that when guys miss a lot of time, even if it's a freakish thing, right, that lowers their value. It just does. It doesn't mean guys still don't get paid. It doesn't mean he doesn't deserve $14, $15, $60 million a year. It just means he might not get more than Bates. That's the point. He might not be able to walk into somebody's office, even though he had 6 picks, but then they're like, well, bro, you missed 8 games, right? Like, you missed 8 games. I mean, that's the last thing we saw of you, right? You missed 8 games, you came back, you played. Maybe that keeps his value right around there. That's why I don't think CJ breaks the bank more than Bates does. And if he does, it's like $1 million more, right? Like, I don't think CJ's getting $20 million a year is where I'm going with it.
No, he shouldn't. If he gets that, then there's a team that's really desperate.
So right now the Eagles are sitting at $6.6 million in cap space.
How do we get lower?
Because they just signed the guy that they just signed the guy who they cut 2 days ago, Brett Toth. He's toying with us, Tom. The GM is toying with us right now.
There's nothing he can do.
Don't sign Brett Toth.
Well, because this one guy would rather go to a podcast and talk about it. You know what I mean? The other guy would rather go to the podcast and talk. So
here he is.
Instead of, Darius.
Darius, get off the phone. Get off the phone, Darius. I like Eckler, okay, but they're not going to do that with a running back. Ted says, look at Ciamalo. We thought he was going to get signed right away, and he has an injury history. Well, I don't think he's not getting signed, Ted, because he has an injury history. I think it's because there's a million different linemen that are getting traded, getting cut, getting signed that are way better than Isaac Ciamalo.
Well, maybe I read that wrong. I thought Isaac signed with the Bears too.
No, he was projected to go there, and he might now go there because McGlinchey was supposed to go. I know it's different. Like, I understand, like, Ciamalo plays different positions, but I think he's kind of like their backup plan. But no, nothing's set in stone yet. I think the only thing set in stone with Isaac is that he's not back, especially now that Kelsey's back.
Just to give you an idea, the dead cap space position we're in right now. Eagles are $54 million in dead cap space. That is more than the Giants, Cowboys, and Commanders combined.
Well, that's Brandon Brooks' contract. Seriously, Brandon Brooks.
Well, that's why you can't keep pushing stuff back.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, it catches up to us, right? And it did again. Yeah, Chrome, and it did again, right, brother? Like, we've been down this road. We knew at some point you won't keep backing them up. We're talking about restructuring lane for the 1,000th time in a row, right? But at some point, you're so far back up against the wall, you don't know. You got nowhere to go. And this is where we're at right now. We don't know what to do with our hands because Howie can be as much of a wizard with the cap as he wants, but you can only wizard it so long before the cap smacks you in the back of the head and says, hey, now I'm only giving you $5 million to play with, Cap Wizard. What are you going to do with this?
Well,
hold on, and you're losing 45 guys.
And it always comes up. It always comes up too. Is when is the year that you say, okay, it's time to just eat this year, let it go, and then try to reset it or stabilize it a little bit. When's the year to do that? Is this the year to do that?
I think it is.
I kind of think it is too. I think maybe you do. If you could bring CJ back, great. Other than that, maybe you do just kind of go cheap on the defense and ride it out and see what you got for next year. They could still compete as is now. That's
for sure. And we need to see that, Ryan, and say we need to see that. That was my point earlier about Jalen. This is not a shot at Jalen. I want to be as clear as day because people get offended. Like, you know, when you say, like, hey, I want to sign him right now. Or yet. I would just wait it out because he's going to stay. If we want him to stay, he'll stay. Makes sense? We'll give him enough money to stay. I ain't worried about that. We ain't a shit organization, okay? So at the end of it, if we want him here, he'll be here, right? So the way I look at it is, listen, dude, when I got to pay you the kind of money I got to pay quarterbacks, I pay carriers that. Right? Not saying he's not one, but if nobody can sit here and tell me that part of them doesn't want to see him carry us, right? Just a little bit, right? Not that we know we're not better without him because we saw that with Gardner, right? But don't sit here and tell me that all four of you guys, a little bit inside you, wouldn't mind seeing next year dude, go carry us with less, and then I'll pay you $100 million a year. You know what I mean? Like, just go show us you can carry us with a little bit less, because I think we all look at a great year last year, and it was great, a great jump, right, from him as a player, and we all love it. We all expect more, but don't we want to see more?
Listen, I'm never going to complain. I don't think any of us would ever complain for the team / player to be in a better position to, succeed long term, right? And not be, hamstrung, whether it's money, whether it's picks, whatever it is. It just never. And again, what you're saying is not wrong. Like, people take what you said, in your video, and they spun it into, oh, this is a hate, Jalen post, or oh, this is Jalen isn't due for his money. It's like, no, that's not what the point of any of this discussion is.
Sammy, FaceTime video.
FaceTime.
Hello.
It just never entered my mind, Tom, because I just don't think Howie would ever do it.
Do what?
I think Howie will always, again, kind of talk about like changing his colors, kind of, straying away from what he does. I don't think Howie will ever go into a situation where a quarterback of this magnitude, going to the Super Bowl, is playing actively on the last year of his contract. I just don't think they would ever do it. I could be dead wrong, right? Like, obviously,
but he did it. But I'm going to just devil's advocate real quick.
Yeah,
he did it. He paid a guy before his last year of his deal, and it burned him, right? Not saying these two are equal, because they're not. Every situation is different. But as an organization, the guy's already in your door. You drafted him, right? He's done this here. So we're not talking about him playing through the year and then you figuring it out. This deal will get done mid-season, right? It's 8 games in. Hey, line it up.
Happy Thanksgiving. Here's contract.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you're going to go through the year on a 1-year deal. Absolutely not. But you watch it, you see it, and not that you need to be sold more, because they obviously know, and they're, the coach called him MJ. So, of course, they believe that he can carry. I believe he can carry too. My question to you guys is, forget what Howie. We're talking about us as fans. Like, why would we have a problem with him going into a final year of his deal not signed yet? Why would we be like up in arms? I see it all over like Facebook that people are like, you can't do it. You can't do it. Like, what do you mean you can't do it? I would sit out if I was him. That's what Brink said. I would sit out. What? Sit out. You sit out, you ain't getting paid by nobody. So go ahead and sit out on the last year of your deal.
It's not in his nature to
No, and then you find out about character, right? You find out more about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if I was Howie Roseman, what I would do, I'll kind of meet you in the middle. It's not as far as to, waiting until the season starts on your end and not signing him like, let's say, this morning, where a lot of people still sit. If I was Roseman, I would wait until around June, because then I know exactly what our roster looks like because of the post-June 1st cap restructures and the cuts. Then I know exactly what I'm looking at. The draft's done. The free agency, anything notable is there, any trades, you know exactly what you're looking at, and then you can reassess it, right? That's when I would do it. If they want to, play long ball here and wait until the season actually starts, sure. But I want to know exactly what I'm looking at when it comes to defense, offense, draft, free agency, everything that goes into it. So I think like the magic time of the year is honestly like the 2nd, 3rd week in June. So I'll kind of meet you in the middle. That's what I would do personally.
So you don't need to see anything more. That's sort of what I was getting at with you guys. You guys are good to go. You're good to go, whatever the number is, and your good years, your good length. You don't care. Get it done. Keep me.
No, I think either way he's going to
words in your mouth, guys. I'm just saying.
I think either way he's going to get his money no matter what. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Either way he's going to get his money.
I'm just not giving him a 10-year deal like I'm hearing. Like, that's outrageous.
No, I think that's outrageous.
I think it's going to be a 6. I think it's going to be a 6 or 7, to be honest, Tom.
7 might be even too much for me.
Well, the only reason why I say 7 is
I might trim that down to 5.
The reason why I say the years, like 6 or 7, is because I'm including this coming year, right? So if it's a 5-year, end up being 6 years that you're tied to him, or if it's a 6 year, it ends up being 7. Just because it lowers the annual value to where, okay, we'll give you an additional year, maybe a little bit more guarantees that are backloaded.
The Pat Mahomes deal.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not saying I don't lose sleep over it, because I'm not trying to say that you do and people do. I just look at the quarterback thing to where anything that seems like a boatload now is going to be a bargain in 18 months, right? Like, so in the very infancy of whatever his new deal is, it's going to be looked at completely differently than it's looked at today.
No, for sure. I mean, that's in all natures of walks of life. I mean, eggs are up more today than they were 5 years ago. So I mean, that everything goes up, everything's value goes up over time. You know, that's just common sense, which I'm totally on board with. My thing is not that I'm like clamoring that I have to see more. I'm just like okay with seeing more. Like right, like I'm not like okay, go do more. Like go do more, go carry it. Now if they give him a deal at say 7:00 tonight, you're not going to hear anything from me in terms of negatives. You're not going to hear why they do it. Now, if they go give him a 10-year deal, I'm going to have some problems. I'm going to have problems because I don't know if his type of style plays in this league for another 10 years. I just don't know for any quarterback that moves and shakes like he does and relies so much on their legs as a weapon if those guys last 10 years, right? Not saying they can't, just that's a question mark that I have on why I'm more of like that 5-6 year deal, you know, and whatever the money is, you know. Mm-hmm. So I know people always take it the wrong way where I'm just like, guy's under contract. That's all I'm ever saying to people is he's under contract. So people are like, he sits out. What do you mean sit out? Like he's got a year left on his deal. Like that's not how it works. And people are like, there's no way his agent will allow him to play on a lame duck deal. What? You know how bad that is for your client? Like, it's not like you're a 5-time Pro Bowler, dude. It's not like you won a Super Bowl. Like, let's be fair to it. Let's keep it 100 as Eagles fans. This is one great year, right? We get carried away sometimes in sports, right? Not that I said I think he's a star, right? I didn't come on here saying I don't think he is one. I think he's a star. I think he's awesome, right? But it doesn't mean that like he answered every goddamn question I've ever had off of 1 year. No, there's question marks for everybody every year, right? I mean, there's always it's a what have you done lately league. It's not what have you done 4 years ago, right? And we also don't pay off of 1 year. At least I thought as a fan base, we're smarter than that too, that we're literally paying off of 1 year. That's what we're doing. We're paying off of one.
Are you guys worried at all?
Which doesn't matter. Sorry, Ryan, real quick. It doesn't matter because Daniel Jones got $40 million off of no years. So it doesn't matter.
This is why I argued with a lot of and some A2D guys, right, that were celebrating the Daniel Jones getting that money thing. Like, I get it. Quarterback that is mid at best, kind of stinks. Guy who
for us.
Well, but see, this is where I kind of disagree with that, right? It's good for us because a quarterback who is mid at best, who threw 15 total touchdowns last year,
right,
in a prove-it year, staying in the division for 3-4 more years. Yeah, that's good. I'd rather face Daniel Jones twice a year than somebody way, way better than him or even marginally better.
Right.
My point is it the best for us when you're looking at a quarterback who is mid at best getting 42?
Yeah, so you agreed with me. I said it's not good for us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said it's good for us.
No, I said it's not good for us.
Oh, I'm sorry, Crum. I'm sorry. The thing cut off there. Because, okay, if he's making 42 and I think, 83 over the next 2 years, what the hell is a guy that just went to the Super Bowl gonna
get?
Yeah,
so the reason I think you pay him now. I think the more years with the lower AAV is something that he would do, create cap flexibility for the team. And although I think at the pro level, and I do think we're going to see more, the one thing I can say is through college and now through the pros, he's gotten better every year. He hasn't disappointed to continue to improve. And I think that in that aspect, plus the leadership that you do see, plus the belief in the teammates and the coaching staff and everybody, it seems in that organization, their belief in him, not just from what they saw from this year, but the body of work since he's been on that team for 3 years, the way he handled sitting behind Carson, never said a word, stepped in, did what he had to do, took his lumps like a pro. Last year, obviously not 2 years ago, when his first full year starting, it was a rough start for them, but he progressed as the year went on. And then the way he handled himself last year, I think he's done enough in the organization's eyes and maybe in my own to say, I also worry too. You got to remember that Joe Burrow is a free agent next year.
And Herbert.
And if Joe sets the market and the market is $60 million or $65 million, and then he does do that work, now we have to pay him $60 million a year. And that's what I worry about because I think this kid is going to put the work. I don't want Joe Burrow to set the market for Jalen Hurts. If Daniel Jones and whoever else got paid, Kyler Murray and these guys are the guys setting the market between 45 and 50 million, I'm cool with that. I don't think he's going to be paid as the top 1 or 2 quarterbacks in the league. I think I'm with Ryan. Give him 6 or 7 years, higher, a lower AAV, give them the cap space. Then maybe they don't have to keep restructuring the deal every year either.
Well, and
killing your caps, killing your dead cap space.
Yeah, backload it.
Johnny, thanks for the super chat, brother.
Thank you, brother.
He says he has a woman agent. No way they're waiting for him to get paid. Plus, if he gets injured next year, then he loses value a little bit. His agent strikes while the iron is hot. I think we get it done this year. And all things I agree on to a point. I do think, though, if he gets injured, I don't know. Like, I agree with the woman agent part. I think that's a big part of this factor. But the way the quarterback position is in this league, I mean, I said it earlier. Chrome didn't agree with it, but he could literally tear his ACL and somebody's still going to pay him $45 million.
No, to your point, when you mentioned that earlier, I didn't disagree with that point, but I was going to say we did talk about that. What's going to get him paid, whether he gets hurt this year or not, is, and I actually think as bad as it was when you see him have that fumble in the Super Bowl, people saw on the biggest scale against the best team and possibly eventually the greatest quarterback of all time, the way this kid bounced back. And those kinds of moments when you are seen on a national scale in the biggest game possible are something that people will look at and say, okay, this kid got hurt, but we know what this kid can be. Right. We know what he can bring in a big game, and they will take the risk and they will pay him, which is why, to your point, Tom, Daniel Jones got $40 million. He could tear an ACL, and he probably will get paid $50 million by another team if it's not us after the fact.
It's
so I do agree with your point.
I mean, teams kept giving Carson chances. I mean, the quarterback position, like I told you guys, when I talked to Flacco the other day, he's like, I feel like I can still play, right? I mean, and he's not wrong. He didn't take a shot at nobody, but it was like, he's like, hey, look at the quarterbacks around the league, right? There's not. I mean, you can make an argument that Joe at 38 years old could go start at some of these.
He was on a Jets team that was like kind of exciting last year, at least on defense. He almost took a Jets team to the playoffs. He was better than their second overall pick. And he's like, he can't even move anymore. No disrespect.
I mean, Gardner Minshew might get, and he hurt his value a little bit, boys, just in his 2 opportunities, right? I mean, it's not, I can't even blame the guy. I still think the guy can be a starter in this league. I think it's also hard to get thrusted in to be a starter weeks 11 and 12 of a season. People think it's easy just to go from holding a clipboard to game speed, but that's neither here nor there. But even a guy like that, I mean, a guy like that might make $20 million a year if there's a desperate team out there. And I'm sure there is. I'm just not thinking of one right now.
Dude, Mike White just got 2 for 18.
Yeah, 2 for 18 as a backup. As a backup, he's a starter. I mean, concussion gate.
He might play more than 2. He might be the new starter.
And honestly, truth be told, I thought that actually might be an ideal place where Carson could land because there's he's a backup, but a high potential to start quite a few games there.
I think I joked about, I like semi-joked about it before. I think Dallas makes a ton of sense for him, Chrome.
Oh my God. Do you imagine he starts making his way around the NFC East?
Yeah. Hey, next year, the year after it'll be the Giants.
Maybe we bring him back here.
What could possibly go wrong? Bring back Darren Sproles so we can get another fight with him in the locker room. Tom, the other thing that I'm kind of worried about, but I think this is what Howie is maybe staying up at night thinking about, and this is why I don't think he would ever wait a little bit longer than kind of do it early, is to what we, Chrome said it earlier, and I touched on it. Guys like Joe Burrow, okay, like nobody's going to bitch or complain unless they shouldn't about Joe Burrow getting paid. Like the guy's one of the, top 4, if not better quarterbacks in the league, right? And he's gone to a Super Bowl. And he's done way more with way less, especially talking about that offensive line. Like he's either running for his life or he's on the ground. Justin Herbert, I think, is the kind of guy that I feel like Howie Roseman would be worried about because the Chargers are going to pay him.
And they'll probably extend him early.
Yes, and he hasn't done anything in this league. And I love Justin Herbert, but they're going to pay a guy like that just based off of potential, right? And that's a guy who has, I mean, listen, he's been to one playoff game and they blew a 28-point lead or whatever the hell it was. Like, that's his sample size. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, he's done all of this, more, and he's going to a Super Bowl. So if they come in tomorrow and they say, oh, Justin Herbert signs for $52 million a year, and then Joe Burrow, in the next 3 months, he signs $54 million a year. Well,
I don't think Jalen deserves more than that, though.
I don't think so. But
Barrow gets more than Jalen any day of the week.
I agree.
That I think by numbers, by just doing it after the injury for a couple of years now, right? He went back to an AFC title game, lost to the same team we lost to. So, I mean, you could say that they're pretty much got to a Super Bowl. They lost the Super Bowl champs. So, I think Jalen's somewhere in between the Herbert and Barrow. Now, to your point, though, Herbert jacks it up, or then it jacks Barrow up. Jalen falls somewhere in the middle of those two. He just is. He's done more than Herbert wins-wise, maybe not numbers-wise, right? So he's done more than, which we're all big fans of. And then he hasn't done more than Barrow, numbers or wins-wise. So I think that's sort of where, to what you're saying, he's somewhere in the middle of that. So whatever that number starts with. So listen, I don't think the Eagles make him a lame duck. If he starts next year, like I try to be clear with this, we're not an incompetent organization. If he started next year without a deal, I'm telling you, there's a handshake agreement that something's getting done. There's no way. I'm telling you, there's no way. Because as an organization, they care about the kid too, right? And he cares about this organization. He's a guy who wants to win. He's been born as a winner. He played for the biggest winner in college football, all right? I mean, the guy wants to win. Like his quotes, I'm like, dude, how do you find so many quotes, bro? You know what I mean? Like, how many quote rocks are you lifting up? Like, you got a quote for everything. I love it, right? So, and he is a winner, right? At every level. But the fact of the matter is, like, you can sign him this offseason. You don't have to. You can sign him 8 weeks in. You're not going to get to a point where franchise tag. Now, what I'll tell Joseph is Joseph's wrong, though. Dak's every bit of what kind of kid Jalen is. He just played for the Cowboys, so we want to hate him, dude. But he's the NFL man of the freaking year. The guy's a leader. Nobody has a bad thing in that locker room to say about
pretty
Dak.
Good quarterback. I'm not gonna lie.
And a pretty good quarterback too. Who carves our asses up every time we play him, Joe. So miss me. The other thing is the Lamar, Dak, and Jalen, these three guys are not the same guy. You understand? What Lamar has done, I'm not dissolving blame from Baltimore here. What I'm saying is the guy quit last year. And inside the organization, I got people I talk to. I never say this about anything unless I'm factual about what I'm saying to you, is they are not happy. There's numerous players that aren't happy. Now, they aren't happy with GMs too. Sure. Nobody's saying there isn't a problem there, right? But what I'm saying is the guy quit. He quit. He wasn't coming in for his treatments anymore. He stopped showing up. He stopped responding to phone calls. All right, when the point where Harbaugh is tired of you, that's telling to me. That's telling. So let's not compare two class acts to a guy who isn't necessarily a class act. Tremendous talent? Sure, but not a class act. And Joe, don't say he didn't get paid. This is my argument with Kerm earlier. He's got $36 million, right, if he signs that. So he got paid. It's not like he didn't get paid, Joe. $36 million changes a lot of guys' lives. All right. And listen, you get $36 million out and let us five divvy it out, and it just changed our lives. So don't tell me like $36 million isn't a ton of money, dude. What's going on in Baltimore is a combination of two things. It's a combination of a player who's missed 10 games in the last 2 years, and it's a sign of an organization that they have their question marks about him, and there's question marks about the organization too. Okay, as much as they've done good on the defense side of the ball, they haven't on the offensive side of the ball, right? So, but let's not act like there isn't still question marks. This deep into Lamar Jackson's career, 26 years old, right? Even as an MVP winner, there's still question marks about him as a quarterback, though. He's 1-3 in the playoffs. Like, you're backing up Brinks for that. It's not like he went to a Super Bowl. Then obviously you're where the Eagles are. You have no choice but to give him the money, right? But his last time out of a playoff game, he lost.
He had the ability to sign upwards of around $200 million a year in freaking June, for God's sakes. He didn't do it. For whatever, like, listen, I'm not saying that athletes shouldn't be confident in themselves and their worth. Absolutely. That's the name of the game. Everybody does it, whether it's a quarterback, a running back, a linebacker, whatever. That's just what happens. But this guy had numerous opportunities to not only make sure he was getting paid going forward, but also played up to his worth. And I'm talking, like, I've said numerous times on the show, hey, the guy's been injured 3 of the last 4 seasons. Sure, he was an MVP. That's all well and good. But just by principle, Chrome, you and I talked about this years ago on Birds of a Feather. Now, this was with a running back. Remember the whole thing with Le'Veon Bell, the holdout, the whole thing with the Steelers? And what did we continuously say? I am not going to give you guaranteed money at any position, let alone damn quarterback, if you cannot guarantee me you're available to play. Like, I'm sorry, availability is a skill, not just in football, in life. He has not been available to them when they've needed him more often than not, especially the last 3 years. Also, I don't want to hear, like, Sam says, like, he quit, but he because he didn't play on a PCL. Sam, he wasn't in the building the last time.
He didn't give him a chance to look at it. He didn't even give him a chance to look at it. He didn't let team doctors diagnose it, dude. That's going rogue, babe. That's going rogue. No organization that's making billions of dollars a year or $1 billion company is going to say, oh, you don't want to come to our team doctors? Cool. We got a great relationship. Here, you know what? Here's fully guaranteed money for 10 years. Come on, guys. Come on.
The last time that Lamar Jackson, again, this isn't a trash Lamar Jackson thing, but it's just a point. The last time Lamar Jackson saw the Ravens team playing was before Thanksgiving. He had every ability to travel with the team. And again, nobody's in his head, but the optics don't look good. He said, no to $200 million. Oh, he played well for 2 weeks. Remember early in the year, everybody's like, oh, Lamar's playing like an MVP. This is before he got hurt, right? Again, how many times did they blow leads in the third and fourth quarter? You know who the quarterback of that team is? Lamar Jackson. Okay? If you wanted to play to your worth and try and get more than $200 million, sure, you have the right to do that. You didn't live up to your end of the bargain. And the biggest thing, if anyone wants to discredit what Tom's saying with how they're tired of him in Baltimore or any other reports, look at the type of franchise tag they gave him. They're not going to allow any other team, if you really want somebody that badly, to also talk to him and offer him things. You're not going to allow anybody to do that. Oh, he's my guy. No, you can't talk to him. And immediately, whether this is collusion based off of, hey, he doesn't have an agent and the league doesn't want to set a precedent of guys not having an agent and getting guaranteed money. I'm not in the business of trying to figure out why every team in the NFL pretty much has said no within 30 seconds of that restructure and that franchise tag. I have no idea. I'm not going to act like I know that information. But it's telling that it's like, hey, the Ravens are saying, anybody, 2 first-round picks, come get them. And then every quarterback needy team, whether it's the Falcons, the Panthers, the Niners to some extent, the Lions, it's like, we're good. Miami, we're good. It's not great.
Right. Sorry to cut you off.
You're fine.
Just breaking news. Andre Dillard is signing with the Tennessee Titans.
So I guess that's Taylor Lewan's replacement.
It's probably looking like it. So,
well, Joseph, I don't know what 6 years, 290 breaks out to be. 290, $48 million a year.
Yeah, that's a little. Yeah.
I promise you he gets 40 if he tore his ACL and came back because of the type of kid he is. They're still giving, man, it ain't ACL in 1980, babe. It ain't a 1980 ACL. It'll be Miles, right? You know, where I'm never going to play that movie. You're never going to play. Right? Come on, dude. Like Dak did it. Other guys, well, Dak didn't tear his ACL, but pretty much. I mean, his ankle's hanging off. All right. So it's a gruesome injury. Like, yes, because of his character, because of his work ethic, because of the type of kid he is, because he's won more playoff games than Dak, right? Because of the upside of him, yes, somebody would give him that money. Somebody would, Joe. Somebody would.
Can I be honest with you? To be honest, and again, no insight. I'm just going gut feeling here. I would not be surprised at all if there's already a handshake agreement between the two. And they just basically the reason why it's not signed, it's because it's going to be decided based off of, are you getting, $1 million more, $1 million less, because they have an agreement of, okay, let's see exactly what this roster looks like in a couple weeks here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just saying earlier. Right there. I don't think that they go into stuff without a handshake agreement. This is a competent franchise. This is a franchise that our GM talks to players. He communicates with players. So That's exactly what I was saying before. Like, I don't think they would go into the year without a deal done unless there's like some big time behind the scenes handshakes taking place. Like, hey, we're going to get this done one way or the other.
I'm not sure how closely everybody's looked at like all of the available free agents and all that stuff. Each one of you guys either give me a prediction or give me both, because why not? We'll get, while we're in here. Give me a prediction on somebody you think the Eagles will sign, and give me like a wish list guy. Give me somebody that you want them to sign. And it could be the same person too.
Jeez.
If we have enough money when it's all said and done, I would love Marvin Jones to be our third wide receiver. I would love for him to be a number 3 guy.
Can I give some context to that, Ralphie, before people were like, oh, why would Marvin Jones leave the Jaguars? Because I got a bunch of that the other day. Calvin Ridley, he's playing. They already have, Christian Kirk?
Yeah, Christian Kirk, and then Calvin's going to be there.
Well, and who's their third guy? It's the other, isn't it another Jones?
Oh, Zay Jones.
Zay Jones. Thank you, Frank. So he's coming back in a free agency year to be the 4th string wide receiver? Like, no. Also, he's up there in age, so I think that you can get a little bit something. I agree. I think that would be awesome. Somebody like that.
I would like Marvin Jones as our number 3 for wide receiver.
Frank Chrome.
Oh, geez, I need to see the list again.
Yeah, I got to take a minute.
I'll go then. I love the Marvin Jones one, Ralphie. I argued with Chucks about this the other night on Birds of a Feather. I did in the chat, that is. I think
Is
Damian
that before or
Harris.
after the pictures were shown?
What, the Peter Young pictures?
Yeah, the Peter Young pictures.
Before. I would love somebody like Damian Harris here. I don't think he's going to command a lot of money. I think because the running back class is so stacked right now, like I understand like Jacobs getting tagged and Saquon getting tagged, it lowers it a little bit. But the guy isn't coming off of a historic season. He did 2 years ago. He had 15 touchdowns, and he's kind of that power back and that red zone back for the Patriots. But then he got hurt last year, and he lost his job to Ramondre Stevenson. He's from the area. I'm not trying to be like, oh, this is going to be Hassan Reddick Temple all over again. And also, he played with Jalen Hurts. So if there's an opportunity where it's like, oh, maybe you can get him for a couple $1 million less, I think that would be an option. Dante Foreman makes sense also, way cheaper than a Damian Harris. And I'm saying that knowing that they're probably not going to value running backs like they should, or at least some people think they should in free agency, because everything they do, they have to do on the defense. But I think those two guys would make a lot of sense.
I like David Montgomery a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking David Montgomery too.
I think he would be a fit
on
here.
the same page there, Cromer.
I think he's diverse enough in terms of adding a versatility between what you would get with Kenny Gainwell, and if you were to bring Boston Scott, he's a good balance with those guys. And correct me if I'm wrong, he's usually on the field. He doesn't get hurt very much, which is a huge aspect to the running back position.
I will check.
Unless I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, he was hurt 2 years ago. He had that weird, I think it was like a foot injury or something.
Yeah, but overall, he's been pretty healthy throughout his career. I like him in terms of the running back. I like the idea if you can get him cheap. I don't know if you can.
I know his market value is set for like $7 million.
I'd love
a 1 year 7, or is it $7 million per over multiple?
7 per.
How many years are they?
3 for 21. So about
A guy I would like to get. You could bring him in as an extra receiver, Adam Thielen. I'd love to have Adam Thielen on this team. An experienced guy, and listen, he doesn't have to be the same guy that he was, but I think he still can have those moments. He can have those big games. I think he brings a little more to the table than what you got with guys like Quez and maybe even Zach Pascal, even though I know they love Zach Pascal, but I think Thielen would be a little bit more of a presence actually in the game.
I like the Thielen one too. And apparently, I don't know how real it was, but at least what I read, Darius Slay mentioned him on his podcast, like, hey, you're trying to win, come to Philly. So that would make sense, especially Thielen as a third. It's not like you're expecting him to do much. You're expecting him to be more than Quez.
So so Darius is now telling guys to come place the win.
I think it might have been the quote you put in our group last night, Tom. Like it was like a quote, and somebody was like, "Hey, this is via Darius Slay's podcast." Again, I don't listen to Darius's podcast. No,
Yeah,
no
same.
shot. I just
No, yeah, it was a quote. I didn't know like how true it was when I sent it.
Wayne, I like Eckler. I think he would fit. I don't know why other people don't think he would fit. I just don't think they would do it. Right? Like I don't think they're going to be in the market.
Well, he's a guy who wants to get paid. I don't think you want to go down that road right now with a running back.
No, I'm good. I got one quarterback.
Yeah, I like him.
Oh, yeah.
If you could bring him in, but
People are going to take that the wrong way too.
Paid where he is now. I don't think that makes any sense for us.
No. Maybe last year before we had to pay people, and we actually had a defensive roster. Right now, we don't really have a defensive roster anymore.
I do like the Thielen though. I mean, I'm not saying he's got a ton left in the tank. He looked pretty. Right. His legs look pretty dead to me last year. But things go to Minnesota to die unless you're Justin Jefferson. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not against him being your third. He's a pro, right? I mean,
a lot of experience, playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to ask you this, okay? Because I don't think they would do it. But if I'm talking about a third-string wide receiver who actually showed he could be competent last year when a bunch of the guys above him were hurt.
Are you going to say Nelson Aguilar?
No. But somebody like him. No, it's Aguilar. No, it's Aguilar without the trophy.
Oh.
Or no, he was on. No, he was on the Super Bowl team. Matt Collins.
No.
I don't know how much of a slot guy he is.
Collins?
Matt's
on the
been
Super
pretty
Bowl
okay since he left.
I was going to say when Devontae.
Oh my God! Here we go.
Vegas.
Jesus Christ!
I think he's not a slot. I'm just saying like a speedy guy, like immediate. Like, hey, you're better than Quez Watkins.
I mean, I would take him over Quez at this point, and you get special teams out of him.
I wouldn't be mad at it, Tom.
Give me Nelly back. Screw it. We know he's in the facility early.
Yeah, I know, Chrome. I know. I remember
Absolutely
years
not.
ago.
Nope. For me, nope, never. Thanks
I'm
for
good.
2017, bud.
Yeah, I'm good with old guys. I'm good with bringing back guys that have already been here. I'm able to move. I want to move on from some of that too. So I hear you. Like I'm good. Even guys that are here, I'm ready to sort of move on from too, just because it's hard to go back with the same cast of characters when you lose.
I think somebody's going to pay him. I mean, I don't know if he's going to get paid an astronomical amount, but I think they'll pay him more than we're willing to pay.
He's projected a 1 year 7, which seems incredibly low.
It does, but I don't know that we're going to pay $7 million to a running back right now.
Yeah, I don't know why we're to be honest with you guys. I love the comments. I love the chat blowing up, but like I wouldn't even bring a running back and a sign going hand in hand. Like I wouldn't even type that out. Like you guys wasted a minute of your life typing because it's not Howie's MO. It's not the Eagles' MO. You know what I mean? So it's just not something they're going to do, especially in cap hell. Now, if they weren't in cap hell, then you know what I mean? Then of course, right? But the situation we're in right now, I think it's really a tall task that they ask us to go start signing, not big time free agents, but running backs within that top 10.
The running back MO is close to training camp when their value drops and bottoms out.
Yes. LeGarrette Blount.
When you got the Jordan Howards and the guys, the LeGarrette Blounts, that's how his MO with running backs. I think that David Montgomery, a guy like him, and some of these guys will get signed, but he's a guy I could see sitting out there. And if he is and his number drops, I do think he fits. But other than that,
I got a question for you guys. What is Joseph doing?
I was going to say Joseph's going trade machine on us.
Well, Joe, the goal is to lose. I mean, the goal isn't to lose anybody, right? But the situation we're in, we don't have a choice. I mean, yeah. I think we talked about it, or I don't think I know. We talked about it when we first started the show that, we all want CJ back. We all think he's back. But the other guys are sort of at a point now in their careers and their age that we have to get younger there. And it's not like we wouldn't love all three back because that would be ideal, all things being equal, but they aren't equal when you're in cap hell. So that being said, we're looking for a way to get one guy back, and knowing that, hey, we're not going to be as good back there, but maybe in a weird way we're better because we get younger. So you never know.
Tom, before your question, because it comes across, Dillard made $29 million over 3 years. For the final time, can I just play something real quick, just to put a bow on everything?
In the arms of the angel, fly away from here, from this dark, cold hotel room, and the endless that you fear.
Okay, I'm done.
Not fair, man.
I'm sorry.
Uh-oh. I think Tom got muted in the process.
Tom and Chrome are muted.
Yeah, they're both muted. Uh-oh.
Oh,
I'm
I
back.
really was muted. I really was muted.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
What were you saying?
Like,
Tom?
Tom, you're muted as I'm muted.
No, I was just saying that Ralphie not only hurt her ears with that, ever since that time, Andre Dillard started crying and he ruined his career. So a lot came after. A lot came after that.
And of course, the meteoric rise of Jordan Mailata didn't help either.
Mailata?
So, I meant to say Mailata. I got all Malala, Mailata.
Tom, what was your question?
Just quickly before we get out of here, what does the Jason Kelsey signing even mean for us? Like, what do you guys think it means? Does it mean like we're like still trying to win? Like, I don't know what it means. Does it mean like, hey, I can't leave $14 million on the table as another kid? Like, I cash in while I can still cash in. Like, what does it mean? Because he knows the kind of hell we're in cap wise. It's hard to leave when you're one of the tops, if not the top player in your sport at a position. It's tough to walk away from as well. What does it mean?
I think I think it kind of saves the Eagles a little bit, and that might be a weird take, but
All right, Eagles just lost Marcus Epps.
Oh,
He's going to the Raiders.
We're winning 5 games next year.
Whoa. Epps was signed.
Raiders are
before
expected to sign
Wow.
former Eagles safety Marcus Epps. So now we don't have any safeties except for
now.
For Reed. Well, Reed Blankenship. he could play back there. He could just
and Brian Dawkins Jr., Kayvon Wallace.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I'm surprised that happened so early.
Wow.
Tom, to your question, I think it kind of helps us in two ways. One, I think Isaac again was going to be going either way, whether Jason was coming back or not. So it saves us in a way where you don't have to replace two parts of your offensive line in one offseason when you're already stuck money-wise and you're projected to have draft picks going elsewhere. And also, listen, he hasn't really lost a step. You're getting continuity continuously, in that offensive line. I don't think it hurts Cam Jurgens. Like, there's a bunch of Cam Jurgens people on Twitter that are like, oh, this is a wasted pick. It's like, no. The guy was drafted to be a guard and or a center. Same reason why you drafted Dickerson. Him playing at right guard is not a big deal for 1 year. And again, this tells me also, again, that he's not going to come back if they know it's a rebuild also. So I think it's the best thing possible to come out of today, other than obviously signing a Gardner-Johnson.
So I think the Kelsey thing is kind of interesting, right? I was having a conversation with somebody earlier, and it was, is the Cam Jurgens, with Kelsey coming back another year, is the Jurgens draft pick, was it a wasted pick? I say no, because it's very interesting, right? I think at the time when you take Cam Jurgens, who is going to slide over probably at this point and take Sayamalu's spot, I think he still will eventually be the heir apparent to Kelsey, but it's interesting because you look at when he was drafted, right? And I believe that there was a core belief in the organization that when you move on from Wentz, when you moved on from Ertz and all these other guys at that point, Doug was gone. I think there was a core belief that it was going to be rougher for a lot longer than we thought it was going to be. And Kelsey legitimately considered the retirement part at that point. But I think coming back another year, let's see what we have here, and then seeing what they did last year in free agency, it's given him an incentive to come back. The window is still open. And what I think it means, too, is he believes – I think it's a team-friendly deal. It always is with these guys because him and Graham understand their place at this point, and I don't think it's always about the money now for those guys. But I think I don't agree with you, Ryan, in that I don't think they would have let Sayamalu walk if Kelsey wasn't coming back. It's too much to fill two of those positions.
Oh no, I didn't say that.
No, I said Ryan.
Oh, I thought you said you and Ryan.
No. I said to what you said to Ryan.
I think he would have gotten outpriced though, Carl. I don't think it would have been willing. I just think it's he's getting paid close to $20 million a year per. It's just okay.
I think they would have had. I think that would have put him in a position where they would have had to figure out something as far as opening up that cap space to bring him back as well.
Okay.
I'm glad they don't have to do that because I agree. I think they're going to outprice at this point, and I think that they could fill that hole with no issue. But I think it's having another year of Kelsey on this team, A, to protect this quarterback is huge. And B, to what Tom said earlier, in a league that's offensively driven, this team still has a chance to win again this year. There's still a shot. Maybe they're not winning 13 or 14 games this year. Might get in the playoffs as a 12-win team. But this team has a chance to win again this year or make a deep run. And I think that, he sees that and believes in the direction of the organization. So, and guess what? Another year with Juergens learning under Kelsey can only be a freaking good thing.
Mm-hmm. Right next to him too, right?
Absolutely. He's going to be in the trenches with him. Yeah, absolutely.
Frank, Ralph?
Go ahead, Frank.
He's
What?
muted, so go ahead, Ralph.
Oh, but the Jason Kelsey thing, excuse me. I think it's another one. I think it's another year where we're looking to win again. We're looking to win again. And I think this is his last year. And I think this is his last year, and I think he's done after this year. And I think it's more of like, okay, this is my last year. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna give it my all, and whatever happens, happens. If we make it to the playoffs, we make it to the playoffs. If we don't make it to the playoffs, we don't make it to the playoffs. But I think right now, I think it's win or bust this year for the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, win or bust this year for Jason Kelsey, I should say. It's just so how much is he getting? $14 million?
Kelsey?
Yeah, that's what I thought he was getting. I don't know.
I think I read they're going to restructure his deal.
Gotcha.
Another restructure.
Okay.
Yeah. Real quick before you go, Frank.
Yep.
So Epps gets 2 years, 18. I don't love that. I don't love that.
He's not worth 9.
If he's getting 9, per, what the hell is the guy who led the league in interceptions going to get?
Yikes!
No,
Yeah.
it's not 2 for 18. It's 2 for 12.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So, okay,
Jake,
so
you
6.
are fake
Okay,
news.
6 per. All right, 6 per.
All right,
Okay.
all right, thank you,
Yeah,
Ralph.
2 for
All right,
12.
that
right.
okay.
I feel a little
That's
better
more
now.
reasonable than 9 million.
Come on, Jacob.
Yeah,
Jesus.
2 years, 12.
He said, my bad. It's okay to make an oopsie.
Manny Machado, anybody?
But no, that makes sense. I mean, he just went to the Super Bowl. People still overpay a little bit. He still overpaid a little bit.
Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's great for the Eagles. I mean, it gives. I mean, with Sayamalo not in the picture, I think it does give Cam to develop. As either the next guard for the team and down the line our next center. So I'm fine with it. I think it's a great signing. I think Kelsey still has plenty left in the tank. It's just a matter of if, but when for him down the line. I think it could be it for him after next season, but or at least this upcoming season. I'd like to say next year, but yeah, I think one more year. I think he's going to try to get that second Lombardi.
You know what, guys? I think too. If you saw, I don't know if you guys got a chance to see the video with him and Howie when Howie found out he was coming back.
Pouring a double shot, yeah.
But I think too that in that conversation, I'm sure the conversations he's had with the organization, he was assured that this is not just a total throwaway year. This is going to be a year they're still going to make moves and try to compete. And I think that that's probably a factor in it as well. I don't think he's coming back just to spin his wheels. Although maybe he wants to come back too and have the opportunity to know he's on his way out as opposed to doing the year by year. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not.
The amount of people, real quick, because I know we're going to head out in a second. The amount of people panicking and trying to find negatives in this Jason Kelsey thing. I understand he's getting up there in age, all that stuff. We have to understand as a fan base that they have done this whole protege to Jason Kelsey thing, not once, not twice, but 3 times. So this isn't an anti-Cam Juergens thing, and all of a sudden, the organization has fallen sour on him, and they got to, beg Jason Kelsey to come back. Isaac Seumalo, way back when, was drafted to be the protege to Jason Kelsey. Oh, wait, Jason Kelsey is still an all-pro? Move to guard. It helped the O-line. oh, a couple years afterwards, Landon Dickerson, you're definitely going to be, because that was like a definite thing. He is the heir apparent to Jason Kelsey. Oh, wait, Jason Kelsey, still pretty good at football. Landon Dickerson, he might end up being a better guard than a center with how good he already is. Cam Jurgens, he was both. He was drafted to be both. And all of this, like, oh, well, how could they not know all of these years? How did they think, 3 years ago he was going to retire? Not putting my mind in, in their situation, but I don't think Jason Kelsey or the Eagles expected 4 or 5 years ago for Kelsey to still be this good. If I'm being honest, it's like, oh, damn, he's still like healthy every year and he's still one of the best, if not the best centers. Okay, let's continue going down this train.
Yeah.
Like, mine is
and to add with the Isaac Seumalo thing, Seumalo also had the ability when he got drafted, he was able to play every single position on the O-line. It just so happened that he played a lot better at guard.
It's egregious for anybody to have an issue with this. You go back and you look at the Dawkins situation, right? And everybody complained, and to your point, I've seen people complain about this Kelsey thing, who are people who bitched that they let Brian Dawkins walk. But if you look at it in hindsight, and Dawkins said himself he regretted for asking for a little bit more money when he probably shouldn't have at that point in his career. And really, the guy's a legend. You wanted to see him finish here, but the Eagles actually made the right decision because he declined pretty quick in hindsight, right? But now we're complaining about two guys, Brandon Graham and him, who are going to restructure deals, take less money so that they can open up some money, and who are still playing at a high level. Jason Kelsey is still the best center in football.
Oh,
Still
easily, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Brandon Graham got double-digit sacks for you coming off of a major injury last year.
Career year.
It is egregious that we're complaining about these people. When these are guys, these are icons in your franchise, and these are the same people who, to this day, can't get over that they let Brian Dawkins go to the Denver Broncos.
The line has always been their number one priority. They're not all of a sudden going to change that.
Side note, breaking news, Aaron McKee fired by Temple.
I saw that. Yep.
Yeah, Joe, I don't know if anybody's been around the bush. I mean, I don't know if I can't tell you what 2024 is going to be, babe. I mean, we ain't even through 2023. We didn't even start the 2023 season. So how can I even tell you what 2024 is going to be? So ain't no beat around the bush here. So, I mean, I don't know what
and we
like,
still have
talking about a rebuild
capital in 24.
Who said 2024 was a rebuild?
Like, who said rebuild about anything? I don't think this is a rebuild. I think it's a retool, man. You have a lot of pieces here still. So
the only thing we said is, as far as the dead cap space, maybe this isn't the year that you go after the big free agents. You fill the gaps on the defensive side of the ball. You have the pieces in place on the offensive side, and you make it so that you're in a better situation after 2023 going into 2024. Nobody said rebuild after that or even now.
No, it's a
just
defensive
being smart financially to give yourself some fucking cap flexibility when your quarterback is going to start getting paid.
It's a defensive transition year, which also ironically coincides with the new defensive coordinator and the way he wants to look at things. Like,
that's why a lot of guys are leaving here. I mean, if he really pounded a table for guys, and then some guys will be here. It's a different scheme. All right. It's different. It's a different way of thinking. So what comes with that is guys going to start want guys that are his guys too. That's part of the conversation a little bit as well. And, not saying that he wouldn't want any of these players. Part of it's the cap. And part of it is you have a guy that you hired here that seemed to be able to get it done with less in Chicago when you had an opportunity.
Who said last chance? The only person who said last chance was Jerry Jones talking about the Eagles like 2 months ago. What are you talking about, Joe? What are you talking about?
Well, nobody here said this was, and I love Joe, but nobody said this was a do or die. I don't even know.
No.
Frank, are you whispering in the microphone over there and we don't hear it?
Are you sending like Morse code to Joe?
Were you whispering in the microphone? Because
I don't think anyone even thought that, let alone said that.
No.
Again, just to reiterate, something we talked about was that defensively, maybe you don't spend as much money this year, other than bring CJ back, and let some of that dead cap space clear up a little bit so you're in a better cap situation going forward when you're paying your quarterback. Instead of continuing to defer money, you got to pay the piper at some point.
I think the only do or die, Joe, is nailing your picks this year.
Yeah,
because if you don't, then this becomes a problem, right? If you don't hit, if you don't hit with these picks, and then we can have the conversation what's 2024 look like, right? And then you start backing yourself against the wall. You got to hit, and you got to hit a bunch, especially when you lose this many people. So, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Stay tuned for the Sports Hounds coming up at 7:30, only on HUD Radio. Make sure you follow us on all our socials for all your Eagles coverage and Philly sports coverage as well. And all breaking news around the NFL that's still happening and still going down. So if you aren't, make sure you're following. Hit the like and subscribe wherever you're watching us now. We love you. We appreciate you. And on the Facebook side, give us our other show page, HUD Lives. A like and a follow if you're over there. And sorry, Donna, can't be here on here all night for you, babe. We love you though. We appreciate you. You're always here. I love you. Nobody better. Boys, fun. We didn't get anything really breaking Eagles wise where we were on as expected.
Just losses.
Just losses. So this was
losses and figuring things out.
Hargrave is really the only significant, I think, at this point. Maybe TJ.
I mean, checking on Greg. I mean, he's not here right now. Somebody needs to
Javon's a loss for sure. He had up and down seasons. If you would have asked us in 2021 or 2022, 2021, if you would have asked us that year if that guy deserved $20 million a year, I think everybody would say no.
The way we sit with, right now, this last thing I'll say, we sit right now not knowing what's going to happen 2 minutes from now, let alone what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks to months. You look at, obviously, Jordan Davis, you look into Kobe Dean, and you look at Milton Williams. 3 you guys times yours. That's the indicator we're sitting at 6:16 p.m.
And to follow up on what Tom said as well, my last point here, going along the same thing with TJ. If we would have said a year and a half ago that we'd be sitting here saying, "Oh, TJ Edwards was a major loss for this team," we would have thought we were all crazy.
Or we won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Enough. The other guys.
Thank you, Don.
Any final thoughts, Ralphie, over there?
Ralph, Frank?
Oh, no. We're all good over here. Just get CJ
Yeah,
done.
I'm all good in the hood.
It's been 20,000 hours. We haven't done jack
yeah.
shit. So
Can't wait for Wednesday. New league year, and it's gonna be an interesting free agency. So I will say that we'll see if Howie makes a move or we get comp picks down the line and just build more for the future.
For sure. All right, boys. Great show. Hit the like and subscribe. Fly Eagles fly. We're out of here.